Today we're just back for a quick look at the Canoptek Reanimator, a brief discussion of the model, and a look at its new rule. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where we're all about getting the most out of our miniatures on the tabletop. Continuing in the forthcoming previews of the Indomitus box, Games Workshop have shown off one of the rules for this towering Necron support construct, so let's have a quick chat about its likely role in the army. First of all, when I was talking about the Doomstalker the other day, I was theorising that this might be a dual kit with the Reanimator. I am well aware that the Reanimator is a fair bit smaller than the Doomstalker, and the cabling in the legs looks different. My theory was that this version that we're seeing on the right is a smaller slimmed down version for the Indomitus box set, and I was thinking that the Doomstalker, the taller and more elongated one with a much wider stance, and of course that enormous Doomsday Blaster, might represent a full kit that you can build both of them from. However, as some people have pointed out, at the bottom of the preview the other day with the Doomstalker, Games Workshop did say that all of the models will be available as push-fit, easy-build models, which if the Doomstalker is an easy-build one, it makes it far less likely that it's going to be a multi-build type kit to be able to build either one. It'll be interesting to see if this Reanimator is available in a multi-build kit, much like the Bloat Drone was for the Death Guard. It wasn't ever available on its own as an easy build, it was only ever the multi-part or the ones from either Dark Imperium or No Fear. I think there's at least a strong possibility that this guy might only be available in the Indomitus box, or maybe a Necrons vs Space Marine starter set, if that does follow on from the Indomitus box. In terms of the model's aesthetic, I do really quite like the War of the Worlds type look that the Necrons have been going for. I must admit that this guy doesn't look overly threatening at first glance, though those power orbs on the top of him might be somewhat deceptive. He does certainly speak to me what he seems to be intended to be, which is a Canoptek support construct to support and maintain the Tomb Worlds, much like the Tomb Spider. In the preview yesterday, on their website, Games Workshop did mention that he'll be equipped with atomizer beam lances, which means that he's going to be getting at least some sort of shooting, which I can only presume will be from those big power orbs above his head. I'm going to guess that they're going to be fairly short-ranged, maybe 12-inch range, but at least from the sound of it, it sounds pretty dangerous. I'd imagine something that's going to be decent at shredding heavy infantry. They'll also at least have some melee threat, which is good seeing as they don't look overly threatening just as themselves. I guess they do have those small claws under his head. Maybe he'll be something similar to a Canoptek Spider in terms of melee ability. I just hope that he doesn't wind up paying too much for his offensive and defensive capabilities, as I suspect his major value is going to be as a support unit. As with the Doomstalker, I'd be surprised if he gets quantum shielding, just because the Canoptek constructs historically haven't had this, although he does seem to be a bit more vehicle-y and bigger than most of them, so I guess you never know. In any case, the Games Workshop preview today has shown us that he's going to have a Nano-Scarab Reanimation Beam, which, seeing as there aren't any other obvious emitters on this guy, then I suppose that this too is going to be shot from those orby things above his head. The article did say that he's going to be able to reanimate your troops and also deanimate the enemy ones, which I thought was quite funny. This Nano-Scarab Reanimation Beam is used in your command phase, so it's one of the new abilities that will actually be taking place there. And you select one dynasty unit within 9 inches of you, and until the start of your next command phase, while that unit is within 9 inches of the model, then you add one to the reanimation protocols rolls made for the models in the unit. So first of all, it is a buff to reanimation protocols, which is good in a way, but a lot of the time Necron's problems are that they can't actually make those rolls in the first place, just due to enemies focus firing one unit, and then if the unit dies, then it doesn't get to make reanimation protocols anymore. On the other hand though, presuming this stacks with the ability of Cryptex, it does mean that you could be pretty much guaranteeing the entire unit gets back up the next turn. Cryptex give a +1 to the reanimation protocols. There doesn't appear to be any limitation on this one stacking with other abilities, at least from this rule, which means that you should be able to get your Necrons back up on a 3+, and you could potentially get them to do it again if you have a Lord with a Resurrection Orb nearby. That's pretty much every single model returned to the squad, near enough. I think this sort of thing really exemplifies the difficulty of balancing Necrons, when you can have enormous swings on every single unit as to whether or not you manage to wipe them out. Just making reanimation protocols that little bit better could potentially push them over the edge from being a bit underwhelming to really quite powerful indeed. If you did have a 20-man Necron warrior squad, the difference between that last warrior dying or not could be the difference between whether or not you get back something like 150 points worth of Necrons the next turn. It really is quite a big deal. Finally, I think it's going to be interesting to see as to whether or not this applies just before you do the reanimation protocols or just after it. At the moment reanimation protocols happens at the start of your turn, it does sound to me like it's something that could be realistically folded into the command phase. I guess we can only wait and see when 9th edition rolls out. Basically this is just going to be far more clunky and hard to use if you have to apply the beam buff just after you do reanimation protocols, as that means that you're going to hope that that unit survives until the next turn and also does take some casualties to be able to receive that buff. I suspect that this won't be the way that this works when we find out the full rules, as that would just make it incredibly hard to use indeed, and sort of doesn't really go with the imagery of this guy shining his reanimation beams on a unit, and more of them getting back up than they normally would. So just another fun little teaser. I suspect that we'll be seeing far more of them from Games Workshop this week, just whetting people's appetites a little bit for what sort of things they can expect to see out of Indomitus. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. We'll most certainly be covering more 9th edition news as it comes out, including any other teasers from the Indomitus box. If you'd like to help support the channel, I'd just like to mention the Auspex Tactics Patreon page. The link is down in the description below, and it allows me to keep on making these videos. We also do regular Patreon giveaways on the channel, and for the August one we're hoping to give away 3 boxes of the Indomitus set. Basically each $1 pledged towards supporting the channel gets you a ticket in the draw, which will then be done by a random number generator, and if you do win one of the boxes then I'll post it out to you no matter where you are in the world. As I said, the Patreon page is down in the description below if you're interested. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.